So again, thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. We will kick off and hopefully more will join as we get started. So I'm Alex Hattingh and I head up people and culture for Employment Hero. And today we're here to talk about a really relevant topic that we're all dealing with, which is how to find and hire exceptional people. So today we'll cover all about exceptional candidates and also what we need to know about the new candidate experience as we navigate this remote world of work and what it means. We'll chat about technology and how it can help us source talent, how to use our employer brand to attract the right people, which I know is really a challenge, and also how to tap into the power of referral networks, which we discovered last quarter as being an incredibly powerful tool here at Employment Hero. And then we'll answer any questions that you might have live. So please enter those into the Q&A box. So we all know only just a year ago in March, we were thrown into COVID and we all had to shift everything from our sales pitches to our marketing pitches, for a lot of us, our product roadmaps. We also all started to work from home or work remotely, and we had to learn how to engage our people during these times of change. Now, one of the biggest things we've noticed as we've started to recruit again is that the candidate experience now is really more vital than ever. I wanted to touch on how management philosophy has changed over the years. It took a decade for us to go from the industrial corporation to hierarchical leadership, and then another couple of decades to get into collaborative management. And then yet another decade to get in what we define as company as a network. And that was all about the mission and the purpose and empowering teams. We were looking at the Netflix, the Googles, the Facebooks, and Amazon for best practice. Yet it only took 12 months due to COVID for us to take a complete shift into empathy, trust, resilience, and growth when it came to our philosophy and approach to management. And this was all about productivity, wellness, and responsibility. It was all about focusing on the individual, our broader community, and our employees' families. And we started to look at companies like Unilever, Verizon, and Patagonia. It was a massive shift that only took 12 months when all of the other philosophy changes took decades to make. So I'd love to launch a poll, Jules, which is asking all of you, how difficult is it to find the right people to hire right now? Just give everyone a couple of seconds to answer. Great. So we have 39% of everyone says it's very difficult. 57% are saying somewhat difficult to find the right people. And the lucky 4% of you are saying that it's easy to find the right people. Results also came out today that showed that the unemployment rate in Australia has yet again dropped. And I think that only came out a couple of years ago. So it does mean talent is even harder to find. And in a study by Randstad, would you believe that 40% of HR leaders are saying that talent scarcity is one of their biggest challenges right now? So if we were to look at the candidate experience, how do we define it? So we need to start with our core values. You need to know what you're looking for. And a great place to start is our company values. Now, it might seem like company values are only for big companies such as Google and Atlassian. However, when done properly, your company values really act as that behavior standard for people to go by. And it also gives your employees an opportunity to be very candid and call people out if they're not living to your values. When we live in communities, values are lived and felt. They're not kind of scripted. It's just what's shared. It's about being a belonging. So they're always aspirational, but you don't want to start with a list of kind of buzzwords. When you think about history and the community, values are about what we all agree, what matters. So there was a push to grow values, and that was all about how we interact with one another. So when you look at a company culture, what is it that values do? It really, again, helps to define how a company is going to behave. And when you look at people that come into our companies today, especially in this new remote world of work, we come from very different backgrounds. And some of the things we might only have in common are the skill sets that are defined by our own roles, which might be the ability to sell if we're in sales, to enter data if we're in data analysis, or to write code if we're in engineering. So it's all very important because values can help to bring a company together and to help get that alignment. So then how do you use your values to attract the right candidates? When you think about writing your job ads, you need to include your values so that people know, firstly, that values are very important to your organization and to your management and leadership team. It also really sets the tone for what you're looking for in a candidate. Someone will look at your values and decide if they're aligned or not. And if they decide to opt out of applying for a job because they're not aligned to your values, that's fine. You don't want them to be applying if they're not aligned. And look, you can take this a step further, and I'll talk through some success we've had with this, and that's sharing some testimonials from employees through videos on social forums like LinkedIn, where they'll talk about the values of your organization. And when we look at attitudes and behaviours in terms of hiring people here at Employment Hero, something that we've found to be really successful are 3 attributes that we look for in every single person that makes them successful at Employment Hero. And they're firstly being humble. So humble in the way that they approach things. They don't bring an ego to the table. They're hungry. So whatever role they're in, they're hungry to strive for more and they're ambitious. And they're also smart. They're both smart in the role that they're doing, and they also have the intellectual capacity to grow with your company, as well as the emotional intelligence to be effective in their role. This was a concept that was coined by Patrick Leonocci in a book called The Ideal Team Player. It's a really fantastic book, and if you Google it, there are some great templates with scorecards that Patrick uses to really get to the bottom of whether someone is humble, hungry, and smart. And if a candidate doesn't tick those 3 boxes for us here at Employment Hero, we won't hire them. And it's proved to be a really successful model. So I'd love to launch another poll to look at whether you've defined your core values and expected attributes and behaviours. I'll just give everyone a second to answer. Oh, amazing. So 59% of us have defined values and behaviours. That's absolutely incredible, and they're worth revisiting. 12% haven't, so we can talk through how to get started, and 29% have said somewhat. So I think it's really important, if you're in that somewhat bucket, that you start to really define your values and share them more. So you may have defined them if you're answering somewhat. However, we'll talk through how you need to share those in job ads and make sure you're reinforcing them throughout your organisation and your teams on a daily and weekly basis. So I wanted to also talk about the new candidate experience. The candidate experience is always changing. However, we have been rocked into a new world with COVID, which is all about remote work. And so we now have this dichotomy around whether we interview in person or do we interview virtually? And if we do interview virtually, how do you assess for all of those skills and or body language that you might pick up in person? So if you think about the fact that our talent pool is global, we can now work from anywhere. We need to also think about online networking in terms of leveraging and attracting the best talent. Again, interviews can be done from anywhere, virtual, online. Some of us are still using phones to do interviews. Remember, the tables have turned. The ball is really in the court of the candidate at the moment. They have access to Glassdoor reviews, LinkedIn, word of mouth. So they're doing their own homework on you. And in this market where unemployment is going down and A players are absolutely rare, there's a competition for talent. Again, data is easily accessible, so your candidates can do a lot of homework on not just you as an organisation, on your leadership team, and on prior employees through, again, technologies such as Glassdoor. Also, recruitment and onboarding can be done in one system, which is so fabulous for anyone out there doing admin, HR, or hiring and people management, but it's also really fantastic from the experience perspective of a candidate and a new employee to be paperless and seamless and have everything in the one place. So you're not going to one system for your recruitment, somewhere else for your payroll, somewhere else for your onboarding, somewhere else for your performance reviews. Everything in one place really makes the employee experience incredible. According to Career Builder, 60% of job seekers quit in the middle of filling out their online job application due to the length and complexity. What's the cost of a poor candidate experience? Well, you're losing top talent to start with. You're also potentially getting poor word of mouth, which impacts your brand. You could also get negative Glassdoor reviews. So also, a lengthy time to fill form will really impact the time to hire, which means you're going to have under-resourced teams within your organisation, which is going to make you less efficient as a whole. And your other team members are going to be overwhelmed or overworked, and they will start to feel under pressure. In terms of creating an awesome candidate experience, we need to remember that all touch points with a candidate are vital. Candidates now do review more than your website. So they look at your Facebook page, Instagram, Glassdoor reviews, your LinkedIn careers page. You need to align your candidate experience with your culture and your values, which I'll talk about. And make sure you're communicating regularly with your candidates, even if that is to update them on nothing is happening. So if they're due to have an interview with someone senior whose calendar is excruciatingly hectic, just shoot them an email or an SMS to let them know where the holdup in the process is. This could mean the difference between you losing a candidate or not and them having a good experience or not. A really great experience is, I'm really sorry, Alex, there's a bit of a holdup because the next hiring manager has a super busy schedule. Can I please ask for your patience? Combined with that, are you at the end of the process with any other opportunities? Again, talking about the awesome candidate experience, we need to respond to every candidate. Not only do we risk brand damage, we're not treating people as humans. Through ATS systems and email automation, this has become really easy. So have a bulk email to respond to every single candidate who has applied to let them know they've been unsuccessful. If someone has taken the time to interview with you, make sure you give them some solid feedback. They've taken the time to research you and your organization, and the least we can do is get back to them with some feedback, even if it's simply that they weren't senior enough or qualified enough. That's something for them to grasp onto, and they walk away with a great brand experience from your organization. Even better is to have an integration so that you get a successful candidate a contract within minutes of making a verbal offer. That's really impactful. And the feedback I've had from candidates on that is, oh, wow, I got an offer from a hiring manager 5 minutes ago, and all of a sudden I have a formal contract of offer in my inbox. This is incredible. It's such a great experience for them. And also onboarding, if you can make that as paperless as possible, it's a really good experience for your employee to be able to go through that onboarding experience in their own time and not have a wallop of paper to have to deal with and superannuation forms on day one. Day one, they can arrive, their onboarding has been completed in terms of paperwork and compliance, and they can really get into knowing the company, the team, and their manager. This is an example of a Glassdoor review that we received, and it's absolutely fantastic when you get great Glassdoor reviews. Keep in mind though, we're always privy to getting negative Glassdoor reviews. We can't avoid them. You're always going to have a negative candidate experience, no matter how hard you try. You're always going to have an employee that departs your organization who may have had a bad experience and is going to leave that bad Glassdoor review. So just have the tools in your pocket during the interview process to be able to upfront respond to employees about bad Glassdoor reviews. And I'm really proactive and upfront with employees who might start to talk about, I've heard some great things on Glassdoor, and I'll say, you will have also seen a few negative reviews. Please know that they're there because of reason A, B, and C without disclosing too much or disclosing anything confidential. It just shows that you're aware of them and that you're also super transparent about information within your organization. Next, I wanted to touch on the importance of keeping your candidate engaged from the offer stage to their start date. There's been an increase in what you would call ghosting, where a candidate might accept an offer and then terribly not show up on their first day, which is heartbreaking. As heartbreaking is when they might sign a contract, you have everything set ready to go, and then they call you and they pull out of their offer. Would you believe, according to Abberton Group, that 86% of people make the decision to stay with a company long-term within their first 6 months, showing how vital that first 6-month experience is? So let your new employees, upon accepting their offer, let them know what their first day will look like. When will they receive their technology in this new remote world of work? And make sure they get that technology prior to starting so they can troubleshoot and they're not nervous on the first day of their induction if they can't log into Zoom, Google Meets, or Teams. Make sure your hiring managers are engaging with your new starters prior to them starting. A phone call, an email, anything just to let them know how excited the hiring manager is to have them join the team. Sending them a schedule of their first day is also a great idea, or just alerting them to the fact that their Google Calendar or their Microsoft Calendar will be filled with all of their first day or first week induction and onboarding meetings. And look, if you can, go the extra mile with a welcome packet. It doesn't have to cost a lot like the big companies. This is an example of our welcome packets that have been so well received by our new heroes. It includes a welcome letter. You'll see there a You're a Hero. That's a handwritten card from their hiring manager welcoming them to the team. There are fun things like a drink to have at their first happy hour, a roll of toilet paper, some snacks. There's also all of their vital technology. And of course, the most favored is branded merchandise. So some t-shirts, a laptop pack. We now have a bag and a few other things that we're adding to that. And it really makes them feel part of the culture and feel very welcome. Next, let's talk about how technology can help you source talent. So HR technology is a real value add. It can take away up to 60 to 80% of your admin tasks. It also goes a long way to engage people. Going from that online contract to online onboarding is such a great start. And then to know you've got a one-stop shop for your entire employee experience, from onboarding through to performance reviews, and feedback and reward and recognition. It also gives any of us in HR, people and culture, an admin role, managing a small business, it gives us back time to focus on the more strategic things. And it just allows you to report, evaluate employees, and make them feel great too. So if you have the opportunity and you don't have HR technology, try to put together that business case to get it. This slide shows an overview of everything that can be all-encompassing within HR technology as a solution, a one-stop shop for your employee. So they're not logging into somewhere different for their payroll, to somewhere different for their goals, KPIs or OKRs, to somewhere different for their one-on-one weekly with their manager, to somewhere different to be able to reward and recognize people, which we've found has been really vital in this remote world of work, to have that constant feed of rewarding and recognizing people on a daily basis. In talking about HR technology, I wanted to talk about what an ATS is. So an applicant tracking system is basically recruiting software that helps you manage the candidate flow and hiring workflow in one place. So you're not logging into the back end of Seek and LinkedIn and Indeed to manage your various applicants. It's all there in one place. So you might wonder what it means to be a cloud-based SaaS applicant tracking system. It simply means that it's based on the cloud and you can access it anytime from any device. SaaS stands for software as a service. So it means not only is it cloud-based, there's no installation required, and all software updates, maintenance, enhancements, data storage, and security of your data, as well as backups, are all taken care of by your SaaS provider. So you don't need to do anything. How does it work? So it basically acts as a centralized location where all of your hiring happens. The wonderful thing is you can post to multiple job boards through the press of a button. So I can post to LinkedIn, to Seek, to Indeed, to all the job boards I want with one press of a button. You can also search for profiles through your ATS. So if you want to do searches for what we would call passive talent, profiles will show up that meet your job requirements. It also makes you easier to do summary reporting, which I will show you. So that shows you how you're doing with your recruitment processes and how your team can improve. It also gives you a fantastic opportunity to show your organization or your leadership team how you're tracking with recruitment. So here's an example of ATS in one place. So this is an example of a product owner job. You'll see there on the left that you can move through the various phases of the recruitment process in one place. So here it's me, an applicant for the product owner. Now you can move me through as an applicant, whether I'm from Seek, LinkedIn, Indeed, or any of the job boards that are out there. I can be a new applicant there, which is highlighted. You can then move me to being in review. You can then move me to a phone or video screen. You can then move me to an assessment, which might be an online test. then an interview with a hiring manager, background checks if you're successful, offering someone a role, and then hired. And then you have the opportunity to disqualify people if they don't fill the role. Down here, you'll see activity. So you have a history of conversations between hiring managers and recruiters. And you also have the opportunity to take notes during interviews. So right now, a lot of us are on video interviews, and it's really fantastic to have candidates on one screen and your applicant tracking system on the other screen, and use scorecards to be able to take notes while you're talking to the candidate. And then after the interview, you can simply tag your hiring managers, and automatically all the notes from your interviews go directly to those hiring managers. They can get the update, and you can decide whether to move them on to the next phase, which might be assessment or interview, or it could be background check because you're going to actually make an offer. The other great thing about an ATS is reporting. You'll see here an example of me reporting out on our 3-month stats from 2021. So January 1 through to March 31st. You'll see there we had over 2,000 new candidates, 524 moved from applied to the next stage. We conducted 388 interviews, 778 emails were sent. We had 40 plus team members across the organisation involved in hiring. We had 1,800 comments. Seek was our main source for applicants. And in Q1, we hired a whopping 54 people. So it's just great to be able to report out on those kind of statistics and metrics. Another one is recruitment velocity, the ability to be able to report out to your organisation on how long it actually takes for a candidate to move from one phase of recruitment to the next is a really terrific way to show them how progress is made, and also to potentially pick up on any areas within the recruitment process that might be causing delays. So you'll see there we had 70 open roles in Q1, and there was an average of 24 days to fill. And you'll see each stage of the recruitment process there and how many days it took to go from testing to interview 1 to interview 2 to a people and culture interview to references being checked to an offer and to someone being hired, which means they've received a contract and they've signed. So in summary, an applicant tracking system facilitates you to easily create jobs and open roles. Again, you can open a role and you can post it to multiple job boards, one click of a button. And also to manage your candidates in one place. Not just manage them in one place, to also track all of your correspondence between you and hiring managers and your candidate, as well as tracking scorecards or interview feedback in the one place. And another beautiful thing about that is if you have someone that almost made the job, but you didn't have the job opening, and you have one that opens up a couple of months down the track, you can go back to that candidate and re-engage with them. And we've done that before and found a lot of success. Let's talk about why and when and how to engage your decision makers in the process of choosing HR technology. So, as we all know, decision makers can make or break this. I think we've all been there, where you find it hard to break through a certain decision maker, and you really need to think about how to influence them for them to understand the return on investment of investing in technology. So identify who your key decision makers are. Bring them on early in the process. Talk to them about why you're needing to do this and the benefits of doing it. So the return on investment, time back, candidate experience, hiring manager experience. This makes it so much easier on the hiring manager to have an ATS. And be prepared to stand your ground. So back yourself. Have statistics, have all of the feedback from candidates that have gone through an ATS system and hiring managers within your organization. If you could find a decision maker who's used an ATS before, they're going to be on your side. So get them and have a conversation with them as to how you can influence anyone that might be trying to roadblock your decision to invest. And finally, don't waste anyone's time. Make sure you know your decision makers and you know how to influence them. Is it through statistics? What statistics is it through that you're going to influence them to get them across the line? Remember, data and facts are your friend, and they are what is going to get you approval to get HR technology implemented. Moving on to talking about the new remote world of work and access to more talent. I'd love to launch a poll and ask about, have you considered hiring across borders, whether that's state or international? So if you're Australian based, you might not want to hire internationally, but have you thought about hiring in Queensland, Perth, Melbourne, wherever the talent might be? So ending the poll now. So wow, impressively 51% have already hired across states and countries. 14% have said they've considered it, but they don't have employees in other states. There's no need for 24%, and 11% don't want to, which is absolutely fine. So moving on from that question, according to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, as a result of the twin forces of the fourth industrial revolution and the COVID-19 recession, day-to-day digitalisation has leapt forward with a large-scale shift to remote working and e-commerce. This has driven a surge in work-from-home arrangements, and it's created a new global marketplace for remote work. So how do you hire remote workers? And some people might define remote workers as a distributed workforce. So distributed teams, to start with, actually solves a lot of problems. It helps us as small to medium businesses to really compete for in-demand talent where there's a skills shortage. It helps us access the best talent no matter where in the world it is. It reduces the cost to fill open vacancies. It also helps you launch into new markets. It enables employment mobility, democratizes talent, drives inclusivity, and it makes recruiting and retaining key staff easier. And it absolutely reduces the cost per hire. And it has one simple purpose, and that's to make distributed employment accessible and sustainable for everyone. But what do we mean by remote work? Basically, it's outsourced employment. So what we're doing is giving you the opportunity to hire people outside where you are and taking all of the compliance and risk away from you. So traditionally, bureaucracy has made it really hard for companies to hire outside where their hub or their headquarters might be. So what we've done at Employment Hero is made it really easy to hire people outside either your state or if you want to hire globally. So if you're finding it really hard to hire people, we can hire them on your behalf. Outside Sydney, for example, Queensland, you wouldn't have to set up workers' compensation, payroll rules, superannuation, or any of that. We do all of it for you. There's also the option to hire internationally, where you might say, I need a solution for a data analyst and it doesn't need to be in Australia. I'm finding it really hard to find someone. We're in this new remote world of work. Employment Hero can make that happen for us. Basically taking care of the day-to-day management of employees outside your current jurisdiction, making it easier. So how would a company use global teams? There are kind of 5 examples or cases. Someone that might want to access the best talent, even if they aren't in Australia. You don't have to set up an entity overseas. We'll do that for you. You might need an extra set of hands to get a job done. A good example might be a graphic designer. You need a graphic designer to get some projects done. You don't need a full-time employee because you're doing a brand launch. We can absolutely hire you a graphic designer on an as-needs basis. The third case is you want to expand your business into international markets. Easier said than done. Because if you don't have incorporated entities in those international markets, it's a bit of a headache. So you can start with us and we can hire people on your behalf in those international markets. A really good example is we've done it in New Zealand and Singapore, and we have used global teams where they're not employment hero employees. The fourth example is integrating current contractors to actually be a real part of your team. So make them employees where you're the host employer rather than having them feel like contractors, and employ them and give them all the benefits that they should be getting as an employee of your company and make them really feel and be part of your team. And the fifth case is you simply want to hire across Australia, which I'll give an example of at Employment Hero. So if you're based in New South Wales at the moment and you've always been focused on New South Wales, hiring in Queensland, WA, Melbourne, Adelaide, not so easy because you have to invest in payroll, workers' compensation, and all sorts of other bureaucracy, anomalies, and compliance. So how have we leveraged remote workers or distributors teams? So pre-COVID, we were blind. We just hired in Sydney because that's what you did. That's where our hub was. That's where our office was. And unknowingly, we were really shortening our talent market. Remote work was forced upon us due to COVID, and it opened our talent pool Australia-wide. We no longer had a need for a physical office. So we had access to talent we never had before, hard to fill roles were all of a sudden so much easier to fill in Queensland, in WA, in Melbourne. Our days to fill lessened and our workforce diversified. And I don't mean just by gender and ethnicity. It actually diversified in terms of thought and adding to the team. So now we have teams all across Australia, Melbourne, Queensland, Western Australia, and it's really absolutely fantastic. Yes, we're still navigating the remote world of work and how to engage employees and make sure everyone feels included, and we're very transparent and open with our workforce about that. It's been really fantastic though to open that pool of talent and see A players come in those hard to fill roles in other states in Australia. Let's talk about using our employer brand. So 72% of recruiting leaders agree that your employer brand has a significant impact on hiring. So what is an employer brand? It's just like your company's marketing, but it's all about you as an employer. So it tells everyone out there looking for a job who you are and your reputation. It's the message you want to send to both future employees, but also keep in mind that your employer brand also speaks to and is the voice of your current employees. Why is it important? Because it creates a strong business and attracts the right people. You think about the right skill set and getting the right talent into your workplace and those that align to your value and your purpose and your mission. Employer branding solidifies the right way and the right motives for your business. So if you want the right people, you have to get the message out there to make sure that you're attracting people that align to your purpose, your mission, and your values. Because it's as important as to who you don't attract as to who you do attract. So if you want to talk about some hard facts, from LinkedIn, employer brand stats show that if someone is aligned to your employer brand, you have a 28% reduction in employee turnover, a 50% reduction in cost to hire, and a 1 to 2 times faster days to hire metric. So what is an EVP? It's all about your core values and what's expected in terms of attitudes and behaviours. So make sure these are documented. Then you want to talk about the rewards and benefits that your organisation can offer, as well as what an amazing place your organisation is to work. It's about your external reputation, but also remember when you talk about your EVP, you need to be aligned internally to make sure you're living and breathing that internally, because people talk. And if your employees see something spoken about externally, of course, they should have the expectation that that is what is happening internally. I can't stress as well enough that you need to work with your marketing team on aligning your employer value proposition with your external brand proposition. I can't speak highly enough of our own marketing team here at Employment Hero and how well they partner with my team on making sure our EVP is aligned with our external value proposition to our clients. It's really, really important. So what's included in an employer value proposition? Well, first of all, of course, you have your financial offerings. So your salary, your stock options and or bonuses, your employee benefits. Now, keep in mind, they're the basics like health insurance, paid leave, gym memberships and the type. And also keep in mind in this new remote world of work, those in-office perks like breakfast and lunch have since been removed and we don't know when they will be able to be brought back. So here at Employment Hero, we've replaced them with things such as on-demand yoga, as well as virtual social events to make sure that you've got those perks still happening. Career development is huge. In the research we've done in combination with YouGov, career development is in the top 4 desires of any Australian looking for a job. So you need to make sure you have growth plans for your employees. And in doing that, make sure you celebrate internal career development and growth. So if someone is promoted, make sure you're celebrating that and calling it out. And whenever an open role comes out, make sure you look internally at talent that can be promoted rather than simply always going externally. Next up is your work environment, which is factors like your culture, your values, and this goes back to flexible working as well. If we don't embrace remote work and keep up flexible working after COVID, we will absolutely lose A players and A talent. So we need to figure out how to work in this hybrid remote work and make sure we call it out in our job ads and as we're attracting employees. Fifth, of course, is our company culture and values. So make sure you talk about your values and your culture and that you're always looking for a value add. Trust and collaboration, positive relationships, communication, and what are you doing as a company to make sure you are communicating and collaborating in this remote world of work. Make sure you've got a cadence that you are expressing to people through your employer value proposition, where you're communicating regularly, whether that's daily huddles with teams, weekly all hands to be updating on business updates and performance. It's really important to people who are looking for a job in this new environment. And finally, it's about your purpose and your mission. Make sure you reference your purpose and your mission in every single job ad that you put out there. And also in interviewing people. I know we all expect people to do research on our companies, and they do, and they should. It also, though, during the interview process is a great opportunity to reinforce how you live your purpose as an organization through even your own career journey, or talking about why you joined your organization and how that links to the purpose of your organization. So where do you start with employer value proposition if you're not sure? Ask your employees, start a focus group, and it doesn't have to be in person. You can become innovative in this remote world of work. On Google, there's Jamboards, there's Miro boards, there's all sorts of whiteboards that you can use to set up some focus groups and simply ask people, why did they join your company? And what do they love about working for your company? And that way, you will spit out your employer value proposition so quickly and easily. And you might even want to send out an employee survey. That way, you'll get documented reasons why people joined, what they love about the company, and what they think will attract new people to the company. We use custom surveys ourselves through Employment Hero, and it's a really fantastic tool. Now, if you do this, I can't stress enough, you have to report out to your employees what you're hearing. Even if you can't meet their needs, they need to know that they've been listened to. And if something can't be met for an ask, let them know why. It might be as simple as you don't have the budget and you'll look at it in the future. It's just the importance of saying, I've listened, and here's the reason why we can't do it, or here's what we're doing about it. The power of referral networks. This is something we have learned in the last quarter, Q1 of 2021. So use your own people. They're our best assets for getting the message out there about hiring really fantastic talent. Here at Employment Hero, we had a massive target of hiring 50 new people in Q1. So we decided to leverage our own people to share the messages on LinkedIn and any social networks we could, Facebook, Glassdoor reviews. We also have a really good employee referral bonus. Employee referrals are your best source for talent. And we also found that video testimonials were a fantastic engagement tool. We all know that videos get people hooked and people love seeing real people, but it's also really authentic to see your own people talk about what they love about working for a company, what attracted them to the company, as well as their career journey at the company. And it gives candidates a real insight into what it's like to join the team. And they get a view of the people that they'll be working with. So here's some examples of some of the shared content we had during Q1 with our focus on recruitment. We saw an absolutely massive uptick in engagement on LinkedIn and content, as well as LinkedIn followers. So here we have an example of someone who wrote, Charlotte Shaw, about her career journey at Employment Hero. Now, this resonated with a lot of people and got absolute high volume of views because it was personal, and it talked about a career journey that moved from people and culture into a product and customer success manager role. And then there on the right, you'll see an actual video testimonial where we videoed 5 of our salespeople who talked about why they joined Employment Hero. They talked about what they love. They talked about what their day-to-day is like, which tells candidates what they're actually going to be doing in their job. And then they talked about the career development opportunities that they've been given at Employment Hero. Again, super authentic, and we had a lot of views and an increase in applicants due to the authentic nature of the video testimonials that we'd done. So, final takeaways for today. You need to take a step back and define your candidate experience if you're going to attract A players. You also need to train your hiring managers on the importance of the candidate experience. This is so vital now in the remote world of work, where sometimes we don't even meet the candidate, not even on their first day of induction. So it's really vital that you train your hiring managers on the fact that it's a two-way street and the candidate is really reading them as well. So one of the great ways here is to have your hiring managers tell the story of either why they joined your company or what they love about their role. And that really expresses the culture of your company to the candidate, even though it might be through video. Using technology to streamline your HR processes, especially your applicant tracking system, is really important. Now, if you are experiencing a shortage of talent, so long days to fill metrics, for example, Consider hiring outside your location, whether that's within Australia, but outside your current location. If your hub is in Melbourne, consider hiring in Sydney, in Queensland, in Adelaide, in Western Australia. Also remember to leverage the attraction of remote work. You are going to absolutely lose talent if you don't advertise the fact that you support remote work. COVID has done the change management for us. Let's not lose that. Let's let it speak for us and speak volumes to those A players out there who are hard workers and who are value add to your organization, and remote work works for them. So trust them and introduce remote work to your organization. And again, use your referral networks. And that's all about people sharing things on LinkedIn, as well as doing testimonials on Glassdoor and sharing video testimonials also. So that's it for today before we launch a poll and open Q&A, which we do have some Q&A. I think we have one last poll just to see if this was helpful. In the interim, I'll open Q&A. So the question is, did you find today's session useful? Okay, the first question while everyone's answering that is the impact of Seek advertising. Candidates don't read the job ads quickly, they just click away. Yes, definitely have experienced that. There's not much that you can do to stop that. You're always going to get people just simply applying to jobs. A really good suggestion there is to add a question for the applicant, so that they have to answer a question as part of the application. And it might be as simple as someone that's not going to add a cover letter. What interested you in this job? 25 words or less. It just forces an applicant to actually answer a question before submitting their application. And it's a really good tool. For those of you that have the access to the tools, you can also implement someone submitting a 5-minute video of themselves as part of the application, which gives you a little bit of insight into, I guess, their personality, their approach, and their communication style, where they have to answer a question or say why they're interested in the job over video for less than 5 minutes. Next question. Would you be able to get a certificate of attendance as PD? I don't think that we would be, I guess, applicable for PD, but we can certainly look into that. We'll take that on board. Next one. Thank you. Thank you for thanking us. How do recruiting partners add candidates to the Employment Hero ATS? We do have a lot of resources within our help desk function. So if you go into the app and there's a little help bar that has an arrow on the right side. If you type in ATS, all of the papers, videos, and webinars will come up. However, if you go to the recruitment tab on your navigation bar on the left-hand side of Employment Hero platform and click on that, create a job, even if it's a dummy job, which I did for product manager today to show you, there'll be a way to add a candidate, and you can upload a resume to add the candidate into the ATS, and then you'll find it so easy to compile and have the one place to be able to track that candidate and talk to hiring managers about them. Next question. What's the benefit of testing before interview for the candidate? Great question, Naomi. So you could use a series of tests. One of the ones we use, it's called Criteria Corp, and it tests 3 things. It tests personality, so aptitude for certain roles, sales, product, data analyst, etc. So it tests someone's personality. It tests people's soft skills, so their aptitude for resilience, customer service, assertiveness, etc., etc. It also does a verbal and mathematical reasonable testing based on role. So if I were to give an example of a product manager. So we use that testing for a product manager primarily to test their aptitude for sitting in a product management role, but also to test their problem solving skills. So one of the biggest skills we need in product management is the ability to problem solve, whether you're collaborating with other people to problem solve or doing it alone on your own. We need people to have the ability to actually go ahead and problem solve, and that's what that test does after interviewing them for the first time. So interview them first and then send them that kind of aptitude test. We don't use that testing for roles that don't need such solidified or defined skills. So for sales, for example, we'll have them do a pitch as part of the interview process. So it's not a test, it's just giving them the chance to do a sales pitch. If I were to talk about marketing, if we were interviewing someone for a content role, we'd give them maybe a challenge where we give them a bit of homework around our brand and they come back with what content or a graphic design or something that they would actually do for the job. Next question. How do you look at the candidate's perspective? Does the data just import from Seek or do they get redirected to the ATS? So Pippa, they all get directed to the ATS, which is the beauty of the ATS. So you press one button and you're able to advertise on all of the job boards that you subscribe to, and then all of your applications come into the ATS. So they're all in one place. You're able to report out on where they come from. So those metrics I showed you, where I showed you that Seek is our biggest, at the moment, is our biggest importer of applicants, but they're all in one place. So I don't have to go to Seek, employer, job site, LinkedIn backend, Indeed backend to look at and assess candidates. They all come through the ATS. Next question, does the ATS integrate with other job boards? Yes, absolutely. It integrates with, I think, over 5,000 job boards. Do you still need a job adder plugin for EH to access the ATS? So you need a plugin if you're using Job Adder as your ATS. If you're using Employment Hero as your ATS, no integration required. A copy, please. Yes, absolutely. We will give you a copy. From Joe. Also, does the ATS allow for proactive talent searches? Joe, unfortunately not yet. It's on the product roadmap, absolutely. So, for example, right now, my team does still use LinkedIn Recruiter to be sending in mails out to passive candidates for talent searches. It's on our roadmap to absolutely introduce that. Next question was about a copy of the presentation that will be sent out. Do you help to employ in Japan? Pauline, we absolutely do. Please reach out. We will hire anyone for you on your behalf in Japan. Great talent market as well for whatever talent you're searching for. Next question, should I give you my email address now or would you like to be sending to everyone? Feel free to give us your email address now. I'll put that on a slide. I'll grab that from, we'll put that in the chat section. Anonymous attendee, how big is my recruitment team? So I have 2 fabulous talent acquisition specialists, and we have a new talent acquisition coordinator who started just before Easter, and she is focused on scheduling as well as starting to focus on screening. Obviously, she's only a couple of weeks in, and then tack myself on top of that for either senior roles and or making sure cultural add rather than cultural alignment when it comes to a lot of roles. Can you give us a guide to the reward for referrals? Absolutely. We do a $4,000 employee referral bonus, which is paid upon an employee passing probation. Now, for some, that might sound like a lot of money. $4,000 is nothing in terms of investment if you get a referral of a fantastic employee from somebody else. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Kate is asking, what do we find is the most successful online job board? Well, Kate, you might have noticed in our metrics that Seek currently is showing as our top supplier of candidates. I will say, however, that LinkedIn is probably the most successful in that if you pay for a recruiter license and job slots, they will actually do some quite proactive advertising where up in your pulse section of your LinkedIn page, they will alert you to a job, which means you're actually targeting passive candidates who may not otherwise be looking for a job, and or through their algorithms, they know if someone has been looking at or clicked on Employment Hero before, and it actually means that they will then target that person to say, hey, there is a product owner job at Employment Hero. If you're interested, apply here. Is this for platinum membership? I'm not sure who's asked that question, but I assume it's regarding the ATS. No, it's not for platinum membership. It's, from what I understand, it's for standard. Julia, please correct me if I'm wrong. That's also the next question, is whether it's available for standard. It is, and you need to go to the right-hand navigation. It's called Recruitment, and if you go in there and have a play around with it, I recommend you set up a dummy job to start with and upload your own resume, and then have a play around with a couple of your own team members before launching it to your hiring managers, just so you understand the workflow. The next one, are you aware of any recommended training or support that can be shared with hiring managers to assisting their buy-in in the recruitment process? Some data or survey responses providing an insight to the benefits of their engagement. Yes, I'm sure we can get you some things. If you could email us and let us know what you're looking for, because it is absolutely the best way to influence hiring managers is if you can show them statistics around, accepting a job versus not, etc. You really do start to get their engagement. And I'm here to admit it's no easy feat to explain to a lot of hiring managers in this new remote world of work that things have really shifted and we need to engage with candidates a lot more. So you need to be explaining why you joined the company, what the culture is. You need to be patient with technical issues. For example, if you're doing a video interview, you can't automatically dismiss someone because their microphone not be working or their technology might not be working. So it is about training them and making sure they understand. And if you're having trouble, one of the best ways can be to shadow or help a hiring manager. So sit on an interview with them, and then afterwards just give them, it can be really hard to give them candid feedback, but put yourself in the candidate's shoes and let them know how you would have felt if you were a candidate in that interview, especially if you've lost candidates when you've made them an offer or you've lost them throughout the process. Deborah is asking, what has had the most effect on improving average days to fill for open roles? Quite honestly, Deborah, it was last quarter when we asked the entire company to get involved in our metric of hiring 50 people with only 3 people on the recruitment team. So asking them to share things on LinkedIn, we created an Olympic theme and we had everyone involved in various teams, which we named by country. We had a medal tally and we had a prize for every single person that was involved in the winning team. Thankfully, everyone's super competitive in Employment Heroes. So the stats just went off, and not just applicant numbers went up, the quality went up, as well as the absolute volume of proactive emails to each member in my team and myself through LinkedIn. And the next question is, any tips for headhunting? What messages work best to engage candidates, and how do you approach highly competitive roles where traditional advertising like Seek don't bring in candidates? So the first tip is to work with your hiring manager. You want to know target companies and target profiles. Then go for your life on searching for people. And then if you're a recruiter or if you're in people and culture like myself, leverage the most senior person in your company. Great example. If I am reaching out to someone on LinkedIn on behalf of our Chief Technology Officer, I will reach out to them and say, our co-founder and Chief Technology absolutely loves your profile, Julie, and really wants to chat to you. These are the details about the role. Could you please let me know if you would love to have a chat to him? And then you make that first conversation with the most senior hiring manager, rather than having people and culture or talent acquisition not be a roadblock, but you are showing the passive candidate their value if you're actually having them speak to the hiring manager in the first place. Do we have yes, we do have an EVP summary. If you go onto our website and search in resources, we have a ton of incredible blogs and content from our amazing marketing team on employer value proposition. Annika, if you currently use another ATS, can you import candidates from that ATS into EH? Not just yet, Annika, unless you do it one by one. So we're working on that functionality. However, if you have a super vital role, I recommend you go into our ATS, you create the role and turn on some music, because it's not the most interesting task to do, and just manually upload those candidates, because it will make your life so streamlined and so much easier to track that particular role and those candidates. The next question, you have mentioned about expanding search locations. Is it doable for sales reps? Oh, absolutely. And I have a great example here at Employment Hero talking about remote work and working from home. One of our sales leaders didn't really believe in remote work prior to COVID hitting, and then COVID hit and we had no choice but to work remotely. So she became an absolute advocate because there was a cadence put in place. There was trust in people delivering on their outcomes. She ended up moving out of Sydney altogether to be closer to her family, and comes into the office once every couple of weeks. So it is absolutely possible, provided you have the technology, you put the tools in place, you train your managers, and most importantly is the cadence of communication and making sure people update tools like Slack or Teams so that everyone knows where everyone is. Jackie's asking, at what size do you think we should have a dedicated HR person? Oh, Jackie, that's such a catch-22 question. You can go anywhere from 30 to 50 people, but I would absolutely recommend before you hit 100 people, you need a dedicated HR person, especially if you want to capture your culture and you want to add to it and not lose it. It just means there's a dedicated person leading your leadership team and listening to your A players and your talent about what's really important and vital to your culture, and ensuring you maintain that. Deborah's asking, would you hire a candidate that was 100% on each of the humble, hungry and smart? For example, if you really liked a candidate and they rated highly for humble and smart, but you weren't sure about hungry. I would, only if you called them out on it. And what I mean by that, Deborah, is you need to actually be super transparent and candid with a candidate and say to them, there are a few attributes that we're looking for and you tick these two boxes. My only question is, are you hungry enough? Because I didn't read that when we interviewed you. And give the candidate the opportunity to actually articulate to you how they are hungry, and you'll get it in a second as to whether they are hungry enough to be absolutely living and breathing your culture, purpose and mission. The next one is, someone is responsible for the high volume of recruitment, and it's very common to have people not book in for an interview or not show up. So group interviews requiring 60 people. Oh, wow. How do you stop this from happening? So especially for low-level roles, absolutely, you come across this problem all the time. The best way to do this with busy people's calendars is to, one, tell them they're not going to meet their own objectives and key results if they don't fill their open roles. So they're only stopping their own performance. Second, they need to block out dedicated time in their calendar. That's all yours to block in interviews. So you might even say to hiring managers, like we've done here, I need you to block out 3 till 5 every single day for the next 3 weeks, because you have so many roles that you need to hire. And if you don't hire them, you are going to be a block to us meeting our company goals. You need to be really clear about that and make them block that time in their calendar. If they don't use it, they get that time back. And I do that in my calendar. I block time out. We're hiring in the UK, for example, at the moment. So I've got some time blocked out, evening time, my time. So it's easy on the UK time. And my recruiters know that that time is blocked out. Everyone else knows they can't block over it. And that way that time is blocked in my calendar. The next one, candidates are asking for very high wages. We are losing people. Yeah, we are absolutely feeling that. So as I mentioned earlier today, statistics came out about the unemployment rate going down again for Australia, which is fantastic for our economy and our country. Not so great for those of us that are desperately trying to attract talent. So what you need to do is sit down and look at salary benchmarks so that you've got the data, take it to your leadership team and make a decision. You need to make a decision around whether you are going to offer someone a higher salary or whether you are going to hire at the benchmark. Keep in mind also internal equity. So if you're going to bring someone in at a higher salary just because the market has peaked, you don't want your current people to be behind because you'll be in a world of pain come end of financial year or beginning of next year when you might do annual salary reviews. So you need to take the whole picture into account, and also taking into account that people currently are being proactively poached for higher salaries. A really good example that we're dealing with at the moment, sales managers are in high demand across Sydney and Australia, and those salaries on base have spiked. So you do need to have that conversation with the broader leadership team. Jackie, yes, you can add candidates manually to ATS, and we've had a lot of clients doing that with jobs that they've got on the go as they get to know the ATS session. And a couple of thank yous. Thank you to absolutely everybody for attending. It's been wonderful to have you. The results of how helpful today is 80% found it helpful, only 1% no, and 19% of people found it somewhat helpful. So our incredible marketing team will send out the deck from today. Lots of questions about our ATS. So please, please, please use that help bar on the bottom right-hand side of Employment Hero. There's an arrow that points out. If you type in ATS, it will take you to all of the tools, the FAQs and webinars and videos that show you how to use the ATS. I can't recommend it enough. So thank you everyone for attending. It's been a thrill to chat to you again, and I think we've got a webinar next week, so we really look forward to seeing you then. Have a fantastic Thursday afternoon. Thanks everyone. Bye.